That's another COVID expert who knows less about the COVID vaccine than a businessman from Wisconsin. So they've been having hearings this week about vaccines and the new MAHA paper released. And here is a vaccine liar who came in to try to lie to everybody. You know how RFK has said that they don't have placebo-controlled studies for vaccines? Well, he came in and is going to lie and said that they did an extensive study and they found over 600 placebo-controlled studies for vaccines. But it turns out he's lying. And let's listen to this guy. His name is Dr. Jake Scott. So just never trust a guy with two first names. But here we go.
My name is Jake Scott, and I'm an infectious diseases physician at Stanford. I've spent my career...
He's an infectious disease researcher at Stanford.
...treating patients and evaluating medical evidence with a focus on vaccine safety and efficacy. I have no financial conflicts of interest. My vaccine research is either self-funded or supported by Stanford University. Since April, I've co-led an international team building what we believe is the most comprehensive database of vaccine trials ever assembled.
And believe me, this guy's got a conflict of interest somewhere. I don't trust this guy because he's lying right now. His whole study's a lie. And when he says I don't have any conflict of interest, I doubt that. I highly, that is suspect. What?
Bill Gates told us it would be bad to do placebo
It'd
studies.
Be
That's why
bad.
we don't have them. So he's saying they exist? This is a crisis.
He's saying they exist. Listen to what he says. He's saying that they've done 600 placebo tests on vaccines. Listen.
We set out to answer a fundamental question. What does the complete trial record actually show about vaccine testing? We've cataloged 1,088 randomized control trials from 1941 to 2025, involving over 10.5 million participants. Every entry is publicly verifiable through PubMed links. The entire database is openly accessible. Anyone with internet access can verify our findings. This is what transparency looks like. Our findings directly refute false claims about vaccine testing. We documented 661 trials using inert placebo controls, saline, sterile water, or other biologically inactive substances.
So he just said we identified 661 placebo-controlled trials. That's what he's saying. Placebo, like saline solution, salt water, and something inert. Inert means that if you put this thing into your body, it doesn't create a reaction.
Of these, 503 involved antigens that routine childhood vaccines are based on. Most importantly, we confirmed that all 16 antigens routinely recommended for children have been studied in placebo-controlled trials. Every single one. The claim that childhood vaccines haven't been tested against placebos is demonstrably false.
So when he says demonstrably false...
My name is Jake Scott, and I'm an infectious diseases physician at Stanford.
Oh, shit. So when he says demonstrably false, you have to demonstrate what that falsity is. You can't just say so. It's like saying something's unequivocally false. And when you get your translator ring out, what do you know? Turns out, no, everything's true. So when he says demonstrably false... That's like saying unequivocally false. Turns out it's true because here comes Aaron Siri. No, he's going to get completely corrected. Let's watch this. When that guy was presenting volumes of studies they compiled, I was confused, thinking I had never heard of any of these studies with a true saline placebo for the childhood shots. It took Aaron Siri only a few minutes to show exactly what shell games that guy was playing. I only have a master's in science, so it's mind-blowing that a doctor, that guy, at Stanford would so arrogantly present this testimony as scientific evidence in support of extensive safety and efficacy testing of childhood vaccines. If I had given this presentation in one of my classes at Tufts University, my professor would have given me an F and questioned whether I actually understood how to do appropriate research. So here it is. Here's Aaron Siri going to completely destroy that guy. Watch this.
Mr. Scott, how much do you know about the mRNA technology?
Oh.
But, Mr. Siri, I'd like you to go to your section and talk about the 661 studies that Dr. Scott is talking about in terms of these inert placebo controls. And just describe that in detail. I think it's interesting.
Sure. Actually, I think Dr. Scott has done a great service in terms of pointing out the lack of clinical trials supporting the safety of the routine injected childhood vaccines. You see, he's saying there are 661 inert controlled trials to support the safety of the routine injected childhood vaccines. But when you actually drill down into those 661 trials, let me give you the breakdown of them, okay? 567 of these trials were not a routine injected vaccine for a disease on the CDC childhood schedule. They were for HIV vaccines or other vaccines.
So he's pretending that these were trials for the vaccines that are on the childhood vaccine schedule, and he's telling you over 500 of them were not. They were not for that. So that guy's just lying. Okay, keep going.
So totally irrelevant to the safety of routine injected childhood vaccines.
So the studies that this guy's quoting, that Dr. Jake Scott, that they're completely irrelevant to the vaccine schedule for children. Completely.
The remaining 94 studies, 70 of them did not involve healthy children. For example, trials of HIV-positive adults. Again, completely irrelevant to the safety of childhood vaccines. Of the remaining 24, 21 did not involve a U.S. licensed vaccine it was not a vaccine used as a control to license a currently used U.S. licensed vaccine, for example.
So that leaves 3 studies. So out of all those 661 studies, you could eliminate all of them because they have nothing to do with the childhood vaccine schedule, except for 3, and he's going to get to that.
Chinese flu shots, stuff like that. That leaves us with 3 studies, 3, that were claimed to have an inert control that were relied upon to license a routine injected childhood vaccine out of this entire list of 661. And these actually help really highlight the problem we have in terms of assessing safety with regards to the licensure of childhood vaccines. I want good clinical trial data. I need it for my practice. Okay, let me walk through those 3. One was a trial for the chickenpox vaccine, the varicella vaccine. Now that trial had, it was only a few hundred people, so it was underpowered anyway. But Dr. Scott says it's got an inert control, but actually it was an injection of neomycin, an antibiotic. That's not inert.
So one of the 3 studies left was about chickenpox. They didn't use something inert, meaning a placebo. They used whatever he just said that thing was, which was an inert.
And neomycin used topically can cause issues, let alone injected. The second one was Gardasil 4 trial, which had thousands and thousands of girls and women in the control group. Almost all of them got an aluminum adjuvant injection. And then there were only a few hundred, that were labeled as a inert control, but they weren't. They got everything that's in the vial except for the antigens in the alum, which included L-histidine, sorbate 80, sodium borate, yeast protein, not inert. And then the third one was a Gardasil 9 trial, which finally, by the way, did have a saline injection, just a few hundred. There were thousands and thousands of girls, women in that trial. They all got an injection of aluminum adjuvant, which I don't even know if it's ethical to inject somebody with something that's neuro and cytotoxic, but leaving that aside, the few hundred that got the placebo, but they only got it if they first got 3 doses of Gardasil 4. So again, not an actual inert control group.
So none of them were what they call inert. Inert meaning like a placebo. So if they put this in your body like saline solution, it creates no reaction. That's what they mean by inert. But he's saying, no, they're all have all these inert they have all these chemicals that are not inert, that actually do affect you, that do create reactions. That's what he's saying. So all these guys' studies, he completely just wiped it out. Completely. It was all garbage. Financial? His 661 studies going back from 1941 to 2025, none of them have anything to do with what he claims they have something to do with. That's according to this guy who knows more about this than even the godfather of vaccines. Because if you ever seen him, he did a 9-hour deposition with the guy who's the godfather of vaccines, and he destroyed him. It's on YouTube. You could go watch it. It's 9 hours. It's amazing to watch him destroy the guy who's the godfather of vaccines. Aaron Siri did that because he knows more about it than them. And he knows more about these studies than the guy who just lied to you about him.
Jimmy, wait, the result is no financial conflicts of interest?
That's what that doctor?
Is he like, does he party with Fauci? Like, there's got to be some kind
of course there's
why
something.
Would he come in
of course.
with something that weak?
0 trials, 0, which were relied upon in this list of 61 to license a routine injected vaccine on the CDC schedule that included a placebo, as well as 0 trials of a vaccine used as a control to license a routine injected vaccine on the CDC schedule.
So 0 trials. This guy was presenting at 661, actually 0.
You're a little bit off.
Ironically, by the way, this list supports the opposite of what it pretends to do. And if you want to know what was relied upon to license routine injected childhood vaccines, it's easy. Look at the clinical trial documents. That's what we do. And in fact, my submission to this committee went through every single vaccine. It's a routine injected vaccine, and we cited precisely what the control was. Now, I'll just point out one quick thing here, too, is that the CNN fact-checked Secretary Kennedy's claim that there is no routine injected childhood vaccine that was licensed-based on a placebo-controlled trial, and it relied on Dr. Scott's list, which at the time had about 248 trials listed as being inert. Secretary Kennedy then did exactly the analysis I did, put it out on a tweet, took it apart. Not one of those was relied upon to license a routine injected childhood vaccine, nor was it used as a control to license routine injected childhood vaccine. And then after that, apparently, somebody then scrambled all the RCT numbers for those 248. I mean, so you can't match it up with the Secretary's tweet. And I guess to bury that issue, just added hundreds more, hoping that it can just hide behind this mountain of trials. But when you look at it carefully, it does not support the safety. In fact, it points out, it shows exactly the lack of safety. What's critical is this. Look, if you want to know the safety of a vaccine, and we need this stuff when parents call us and say, my child got XYZ issue after vaccine. You need trials that are, one, properly controlled, which means either they got to get an inert substance or another vaccine that was properly licensed based on a robust trial. And then even if it has a proper control, it still needs to review safety long enough. And then even if it has a proper inert control and it reviews long enough, it then still needs to be properly powered. It needs all three to be a proper, valid clinical trial. Now, I can tell you, there's not a single routine injected childhood vaccine.
So he's saying you have to have an inert ingredient, a placebo. You have to have the proper length of time to study it. And it has to be high-powered. I mean, you have to have enough participants in the control group to reach a significant statistical conclusion. That's what he's saying. So that's what you need for all three. You don't have any of them. And so that guy said he didn't have a conflict of interest. Isn't it weird that a guy doesn't have a conflict of interest, yet everything he said was false? Isn't that wild? He doesn't have a conflict of interest, but every single thing he said was false.
On the schedule that meets those criteria.
So, and just to show you how bad this guy is, this is a businessman from Wisconsin, Senator Johnson, who knows more about the mRNA vaccines than this guy testifying. Do you want me to prove it to you? Here it is.
Mr. Scott, how much do you know about the mRNA technology?
A fair amount.
A fair amount.
So is the mRNA that's encapsulating the lipid nanoparticle, is that true mRNA?
Is that true mRNA?
I mean, true mRNA, your messenger RNA, degrades very rapidly in the body. Mm-hmm. Correct?
Correct.
So the mRNA in the injection, is it true mRNA? Does it degrade rapidly in the body? Do you not know?
I do know. Yes, it does. But
it does.
He says it does. It says it. He's saying the mRNA, when you get a vaccine, mRNA, it rapidly diminishes in your body. That's what he just said. Turns out that's not true. Let's listen to Senator Johnson.
No, it does not. It's modified mRNA, and it's designed not to degrade. And there are studies that show it sticks around the body. We don't know how long.
There was a Yale study recently that showed that people were still making spike protein 600, 700 days after their last injection.
Get your booster.
The lipid nanoparticle, do you realize that it was designed to permeate difficult to permeate barriers, like the blood-brain, like the placenta barrier? Did you know that? Did you believe when Fauci told us that the mRNA shot would stay in the arm? Did you believe that?
So remember when they said when you get the shot, it stays in your arm? That was a lie. I reported that here. People attacked me for months over that. Said how crazy I am. No, now we know it goes through all your whole body. And that lipid nanoparticles can breach the blood-brain barrier.
It's a simple yes or no. I mean, do you believe the COVID injection stayed in everybody's arm? Do you believe that's what happened?
Primarily.
You think so, huh? Were you aware of the Japanese FOIA of the study that was conducted at biodistribution where in rats it biodistributed all over the body, accumulated in the adrenal glands, in the ovaries? Because the lipid nanoparticle is designed to permeate difficult to permeate barriers, they knew, the designers knew, and they did a study that would biodistribute all over the body, but our CDC, Anthony Fauci, said it was going to stick in the arm. Now, do you know what the mRNA does? It's not a traditional vaccine, is it? Do you realize that? It's not an attempt.
This guy can't answer any questions. Isn't it amazing? It's like watching a kid being grilled by their principal.
Attenuated or a dead virus. It's messenger RNA, modified RNA, that's encapsulated in a lipid nanoparticle. It distributes all over the body, and when it attaches to a cell, it unloads its mRNA into the cell, and it turns the cell into a manufacturing cell of a protein that is toxic to it. Do you realize that? Are you aware of that? I mean, just yes or no. I mean, do you know that or not? Because I talk to a lot of doctors who don't have a clue.
So I guess that doctor, I don't even know why he showed up. Did he think nobody was going to ask him anything after he laid out his amazing credentials? I work at Stanford. Did he not think someone? So there's a guy who knows way more about the vaccines, mRNA vaccines, than he does.
In fairness, it was transparent how much he was lying.
It was
He got
transparent.
not one thing right.
I like this. Robert Heitner says, Dr. Jake Scott is an infectious disease doctor, professor at Stanford University Medical School, and pushes the COVID vaccine by combating misinformation on the internet, but knows far less about the COVID vaccine than a businessman from Wisconsin. Yeah, there's another COVID expert, ladies and gentlemen, testifying in front of Congress. That's another COVID expert who knows less about the COVID vaccine than a businessman from Wisconsin. That's your COVID expert.
He hasn't gotten the bullet points. It's like an ad read. His job is memorizing the bullet points you should hit in an ad read and nothing more than that.
So anyway, that was fun. Stuff like this is happening this week in Congress. There's these hearings. MAHA has released their advisory paper. And looks like RFK has found a way to make it hard for Big Pharma to advertise on TV. We're going to get to that story next.
Really?
Yeah, it looks like it. Fingers crossed. And if you'd like to hear me make fun of these COVID liars, I'll see you in Chicago this weekend, Louisville, Fort Wayne, Hermosa Beach, California, Sacramento, and San Francisco. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Come see me on tour in Appleton, Wisconsin, Rosemont, Illinois, Chicago, Illinois, Louisville, Fort Wayne, Hermosa Beach, Sacramento, San Francisco. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.